Okay, so truth can be subjective, so what's the point of having a conversation?
Well, there's empiricism as well. That is a kind of truth that I subscribe to.
But you just contradicted yourself because you said truth is subjective, but empiricism is a type of truth.
What? I just contradict. Say again.
Science is the best representation of truth. That statement. Can you empirically test that statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, using the scientific method.
If you manage to do that, you will win the Nobel Prize. I promise you. Do you know why? Because that statement is a self-refuting statement.
I don't think so.
Well, you just did it.
Why?
I just laid out a little nice hole,
Yeah.
and I asked you to walk, and you walked into it. So you have taken that blanket belief with a frog that you never knew existed before this conversation,
Right.
and you've applied that belief to that reality. Do you know what that actually is? That's a religion.
Yeah.
So if your argument
Bad
is
guy.
scientific technology is a
Heisenberg,
benchmark for whether you're right or wrong,
Exactly.
then you'd have to agree the Nazis were correct.
Exactly.
They
So-
were great scientists. I'll give them that.
No,
Yeah.
but were they morally superior to the West?
No, of course not.
Okay,
Well, they
so
are
your
West.
argument
They
just
are
fell
the
apart.
West.
Your argument just fell apart. Because you said we are technologically in the West superior, right? And that was supposed to be an argument for the higher moral standard in the West, correct? And according to your own logic, the Nazis, you should be in favor of them because they were one time superior in the world.
Specific part of technology. I would say.
Because that's a different argument.
He was saying
You
that
just put words in my mouth, but now you're trying to make me argue your point.
he was saying that Islam is more effective than democracy.
No, I didn't say that.
I would say that.
No, I didn't say
No,
that.
no.
Look, Islam is not a voting process here. Yeah? We have a concept of shura where people come together.
But what
You are-
happened to Islam? Why did it stop being
You know what?
a leading member of science?
Good point. What happened?
Yeah.
Because there was a time,
Yeah.
by the way, it was the Muslims, in case you didn't know, yeah? I'm not sure enough, I'm not trying to be arrogant. If it wasn't for Muslims, you would not be as scientific advanced as you are today.
Yeah, they
It
were
was-
the
it
first
was
kind of
first
scientific
scientists.
method.
The
No.
Yeah,
I didn't say
they-
the first. I'm saying we
they had-
developed
they had-
science.
And your question is this, right? Why is the Muslim world behind? Right? That's your question.
Why have they stopped?
Why have they stopped? Well, you have to understand, sir, about 90 years ago, I'm just giving you a statistic, 95% of the Muslim world was under Western occupation.
Right, but it happened before that, didn't it?
So if, like, let me just put it this way, right? There's times where a civilization is at its peak and there's times where it goes down and then it's a cycle. You can't just take one snapshot of history and therefore say we are superior than the other.
I think it's like
What you have to
1,000
do
years.
is
That's a
you
little
have
bit
to
more than a
understand.
snapshot.
You have to
Romans,
understand there's a whole bunch of
China.
social, moral, political, and other types of influences within the world which dictate whether one civilization is superior to another.
I appreciate
You
that
can't
entirely.
take a snapshot in
not a
history and say
snapshot.
therefore the West is superior to Islam.
I didn't say the West was superior. I said that there's certain systems in place.
Look, sir, the point is this, yeah, is that is not an argument to make to falsify something. To say, just because you don't have scientific advancement, therefore you must be upon falsehood or you can't be true. No.
That's the implicit assumption.
Islam is not a scientific method. Yeah, we have a problem with science. Islam goes hand in hand with science. Islam promotes science. Science has its place. Islam has its other place. Science tells you the how. Islam tells you the why. Do you see the point?
I do.
Yeah? So you can be a Muslim and you can be a scientist. Yeah? We don't have this thing that the earth was created 7,000 years ago. The Christians believe in that, by the way, yeah? We don't believe in this nonsense type of stuff. There's nothing in science which is scientifically contradictory. Islam is not a scientific religion. It's not a religion that says it's about science.
Do you not believe in the miracles professed in the Quran then?
Yes, we believe in the miracles, yes.
But a miracle, by its definition, is something that can't really happen.
No, why is that?
Well, it's just it works in.
Sorry, what did you say?
Well, like it works in contrary to our understanding of the reality, right? Like for instance, Muhammad flying to heaven.
Yeah, of course it does. That's what's called miracles.
Right. Well,
So
horses-
you're saying it's an anomaly in the uniformity of nature.
yeah, isn't that like an intervention of God to make something slightly different.
Okay,
Right?
and you're saying that's impossible?
Well, if our understanding of reality proves correct, then yeah, it is. It is.
So you're saying we cannot have a piece of data which goes against previous uniformity?
I don't understand that. Sorry. Can you break?
What you were saying was this: it breaks the laws of nature, miracle.
Yes.
Okay? The laws of nature are based upon what?
Observation.
Observation. And can you not get a new observation which can challenge your previous theories?
Well, you can within reason, yeah.
Yeah.
But like
Therefore,
a horse with wings falls outside
Therefore,
of that.
Let's agree on a concept first. Therefore, you just contradicted yourself.
Did I?
Yeah. Because you said a miracle, by definition, is an anomaly to the laws of nature. Correct? Okay. Put it in
yes.
your own words. I'll wait for you.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. So therefore, in science, we make observations and we make generalizations based upon those observations. Correct?
Yeah.
True.
So.
True. Now we can have an observation which can challenge our previous theories. Correct?
Yes.
So therefore, you just contradicted yourself.
All right. Fine. Yeah. But I maintain that my point, my initial point though was the grand contraries to our understanding of reality. Like yes, we can have something which slightly alters, because science is a progression, but you can't have something.
Science is not a progression. Who told you it's a progression?
Yeah, of course it is. It's very, very unlikely that something's going to come along which will flip a scientific law on its head. It happens, but
Wait, hang on. That was one contradiction. Let me just show you another. We had the Newtonian model of the universe, right? That time and space are fixed and gravity is a pulling force. And in the beginning of the 20th century, the Newtonian model of the universe had worked approximately for 200 years.
Yeah.
Based upon induction, it was reconfirmed for about 200 years.
Right.
Einstein came along and Niels Bohr came along with general relativity and quantum mechanics, and they smashed it.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So
But
we
where
can
would
have a
they be without Newton?
No, we can have a paradigm shift in science. There's nothing wrong with that.
Where would they be? Like Newton, standing on the shoulders of giants, right? Where would Einstein be without Newton?
Where would Einstein be without Newton?
Yeah.
That's a side issue.
Well, that's the point I'm making.
No, the point you're making is this. You believe that science leads to truth, essentially. That's what you believe.
Yeah.
Okay? The problem with that belief is you can always have a new observation which can challenge your previous conclusion.
That's wonderful. I think that's fantastic.
So therefore science doesn't lead to truth.
Well, it leads to our best understanding of currents. It's called
Our best understanding of what? Reality?
Sorry, I want to interrupt a
I
bit.
mean, the proof is in the pudding, isn't it? Like, we use science to put planes in the sky. It works.
Okay, that's a very good point. We went to the moon based upon Newtonian mechanics, right? Now, we went to the moon based upon Newtonian mechanics, and Newtonian mechanics assume time and space is fixed and gravity is a pulling force. Einstein came along with general relativity and showed time and space are not fixed, they're actually relative, and gravity is not a pulling force, it's actually a pushing force due to space-time curvature. So although Newton's laws, they helped us get to the moon, they worked, it wasn't true that the Newtonian model was actually the best representation of reality. So science works, it doesn't mean it's true.
Right.
There's a difference between the two.
Right. I am out of my depth because I don't know anything about quantum mechanics.
No, you don't need to know anything about quantum mechanics. All you need to know is just because something works doesn't mean it's true.
Okay. Right. So.
Because that was your claim that planes are in the sky, medicine works, therefore science works, therefore it's true. The fact of the matter is, something working doesn't mean it's true. It just means it works.
Yeah.
For example, there's a philosopher called Larry Loden. He's written a philosophical paper in which he put together 30 empirically successful theories which turned out to be false. Right? These are theories which continuously worked. And even today in science, if you go up to any physicist and you say to him, do you believe in general relativity? He'll say yes. Do you believe in quantum mechanics? He'll say yes. Yet both these theories contradict each other at a fundamental level, which is why they're trying to come up with some sort of compromise like quantum gravity. So just because something works doesn't mean it's true. And science is not the best representation of reality. That's a metaphysical claim, so by definition, that claim is false. It's self-refuting. If you say science is the best representation of reality, you've already disproven that claim. Do you understand what I said?
Yeah, I do. But I still maintain my position that science is the best representation of
Okay, so
reality.
that statement, science is the best representation of truth. That statement, can you empirically test that statement?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, using the scientific method.
If you manage to do that, you will win the Nobel Prize. I promise you. Do you know why? Because that statement is a self-refuting statement. Because this statement cannot be tested. It is a metaphysical statement, meaning beyond science. And you can give me half the money when you win the Nobel Prize. I'm going to make a claim though. I'm going to make a new claim.
Go on then.
The new claim I'm going to make is the best way we can arrive at truth is not science, it's actually by using logic. That's my claim.
Okay.
I'll tell you why. Science is based upon mathematics, logic, testimony, self-evident truths like the world is real. But science cannot prove these things, these are foundational. So when it comes to the belief in God or the belief in morality, like we were having a discussion about morality before, we cannot use science, we have to use metaphysics. We have to use something beyond science. We have to use what science is based upon, which is reason and logic.
I haven't got to Kant in the podcast yet. But
Sorry?
okay.
Because earlier we were speaking about morality, and there was a sort of finger pointing, this is wrong, but you can never show that's wrong scientifically.
No,
Like-
you can't.
Sorry?
No, you can't. It's based on suffering and empathy. That's where I get my moral compass from.
Suffering and empathy.
Yeah.
Those are values. You have to break down those values into something else.
Well, it's
Those are. What's the lowest common denominator to those values?
I don't understand
Okay.
the question.
Do you believe in God?
No.
No. Okay. Do you believe we evolved via Darwinian mechanism?
Yes.
That's how we evolved. Okay. So if that's the case, then our morality is subjective, is based upon biology.
Yeah, to a certain degree.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you know what Darwin said about that?
Well, Darwin went in the Descent of Man, was it? Darwin's not to be. Darwin posed the first part of the story, but well, go on then. What did he say?
Darwin said if we were reared under the same way that bees were reared, then we would be okay with killing our fertile siblings.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do.
Uh-huh.
Would you be okay with killing someone that's fertile? In Speaker's Corner?
Why? Why would I do that?
No. Would you be okay with that? That's my question. No, why would you do it? Would you be okay with that? If the answer is no, then that basically means you don't believe that morality is subjective.
I do believe that morality is subjective.
So you believe if we today evolved under a different mechanism, under a different set of biological conditions, it would be okay to kill small children. Because that's what some things in some species actually do within the animal kingdom.
Yes, I know they do, but that helps them. Yeah, I do think that everything that we do helps perpetuate our genes, but going and killing.
No, wait. Everything that we do helps perpetuate our genes.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're having this conversation.
Yeah.
Are you trying to propagate your genes in some way?
Well, I'm improving my intelligence, which would then go off to.
Your intelligence would help you how?
What? How would my intelligence help me
With
to
your
procreate?
genes, because it's all about promoting your genes.
Yeah.
So how would being more intelligent help you propagate your genes?
It would make me more suited for partners. It would make me more.
Do you know, according to research, the most intelligent people have the least amount of children, and sometimes no children at all? So if we were to put together, say, if you were to put together Richard Dawkins, Neil deGrasse Tyson, Lawrence Krauss, all these guys which are supposed to be intelligent, like Sam Harris, take all these people together, and we were to compare them to a Bedouin Arab who has 50 children, which they do, then their intelligence hasn't helped them with survival and reproduction.
Right.
So intelligence doesn't help you with
Okay.
your survival and
That's
reproduction.
going off on a bit of a tangent.
No,
now.
it's not, because you said
Right,
your
okay, so
intelligence-
why else am I out here having this discussion?
Because look, morality is an illusion of the genes. You have to, if you really believed in Darwinism, then morality is an illusion created by our genes. That's what it is.
Reality is an illusion created.
Morality,
Morality.
the sense of right and wrong, is an illusion created by our genes to help us survive and reproduce. So social cohesion is only there to help you survive and reproduction. That's what it actually is. So there is no such thing as right and wrong.
Well, not objectively. Yeah.
Objectively. And do you know the problem with that claim?
It's against Darwin.
No.
What?
The problem with that claim is it's self-refuting.
Okay.
Because everything becomes meaningless. There's no meaning.
Yeah, that's okay with me.
That's okay with you.
Yeah.
So what's the point of having a conversation?
Because, well, you're talking like the grand scheme of like we're going back to the why question, and
No, I'm not. I'm saying we're having a conversation. Our words carry meanings, okay? So we're actually trying to arrive at truth, correct?
right.
If Darwinian evolution is actually true, truth is actually an illusion.
I think the truth can be subjective as well.
Okay, the truth can be subjective, so what's the point of having a conversation?
Well, there's empiricism as well. That is a kind of truth that I subscribe to.
But you just contradicted yourself because you said truth is subjective, but empiricism is a type of truth.
What? I just contradict. Say again.
You said empiricism is a type of truth. Before that, you said truth is relative. That's a contradiction.
Which one is that?
Look, let me just ask you a frank question.
Yeah.
Do you believe in Darwinian evolution because you've been socialized into it? Because it's just, you know, they did this experiment in Stanford in which they took 3 lines, right? One was a short line, one was a shorter line, and one was the shortest line. And they had all these subjects. All of them were actors except for one guy. It's a very famous experiment. And all of them, they were asked which is the shortest line. And all of them went C, 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 C. But it wasn't. A was actually the shortest line. The test subject, all the rest of them are actors. Do you know what he actually did? He said C. He denied his perception to fit inside the social environment. So I believe, and this is my claim, most people in this country, they accept Darwinian evolution, including yourself most likely, because of this social sheepish behavior. It's nothing to do with logic.
Okay. Do you think, what about dogs? Are they wolves or are they dogs?
That's a totally irrelevant discussion.
If you don't believe in Darwinian evolution, then you don't believe in dogs.
Okay.
You don't believe in seedless grapes.
Okay. That's actually a fallacy of division. Let me just explain to you what fallacy of
You're going to
division
talk about micro and macro?
No. This micro and macro is a fallacy.
Yes. Oh, good.
So look, I have this book in front of me. Okay? If one thing in this book is true, does that mean the whole book is true?
No.
No. Perfect. The idea that a chihuahua and a pit bull have a common ancestor is a fallacy of division if you try to use that to prove Darwinian evolution. Because if you imagine this is a book called Darwinian Evolution, and there is an observation in there called chihuahua pit bull ancestry, that fact itself doesn't prove the entire book, because that fact can fit in line with a whole range of beliefs, including intelligent design, young earth creationism, Mendelian mutationism, Lamarckian evolution, evolution by self-organization, a whole bunch of paradigms. So you can't just take one random observation and say, therefore the whole is true.
Okay.
And do you know Darwin actually said that at the beginning of The Origin of Species? Have you actually read that book?
No, not actually.
Okay, I ask you to read that book. And right in the beginning of The Origin of Species, he says, I have a whole bunch of observations in this book. I have things about anatomy, I have things about embryology, I have things about biogeography. I have a whole bunch of observations in this book. And I know and I understand that these same observations can lead to a completely different theory to the theory that I have, and even a theory which is a complete opposite theory to mine. Because he understands the philosophy of science, that the same observations can give rise to different theories. But he goes on to say that I still think my theory is correct. That goes to show that there's a popular disconnect between what secular academics, the way they understand Darwinian evolution, and the way that laymen understand it. Because they think it's true, when actually, when you look at their work, they tell you about the probabilistic nature of it, the speculation of it, the assumptions of it, and the disputes of it. So what we should do as laymen is not base our metaphysical beliefs on something we don't even fundamentally understand. Because it's about life and death. You know, people are like, I don't believe, like, I'll ask you a question. There's a frog in Alaska called the wood frog, right? for a few months of the year, it completely freezes over. It's almost like you put it in a freezer, completely freezes, his heart stops, blood stops, everything like that happens. How did that come about? If I was to ask a layman like yourself or myself, how did that come about?
I don't know.
But you just said you believe in Darwinian evolution.
Yeah. Well, I imagine that there's environmental factors which have drawn it there, and
Exactly.
right.
So you have taken that blanket belief with a frog that you never knew existed before this conversation,
Right.
and you've applied that belief to that reality. Do you know what that actually is? That's a religion.
Yeah.
Did you know that frog existed before this conversation?
I had heard of it actually. Yeah.
Okay.
Maybe it was in another.
What if I was
this-
to tell you about an octopus that becomes invisible at the bottom of the ocean? That claim that I just made
can see.
could be false or true. That octopus may or may not exist.
Well, it's camouflaged.
No, not camouflaged. There's a difference. It actually becomes invisible. It doesn't fit inside the environment exactly. It's different to changing color. Nonetheless, you can actually see through it. Now that octopus could or could not exist. And let's just call it species XYZ, a random species. A layman would say Darwinian evolution. They may have never heard of this particular species. Now what we need to do as human beings is we need to question the beliefs that we're socialized into.
Right. But I think evolution would be absolutely open to something coming along and proving and saying, I've got proof that evolution doesn't work. But so far, absolutely everything has. Darwin didn't know anything about genetics.
Okay, Darwin
but since developing the phylogenetic tree, since the discovery of DNA, everything has fitted the exact way that
Darwin assumed.
yes.
Okay. Firstly,
Except for like weird like marsupials,
Okay.
they're a bit out there.
Okay, so firstly, Darwin wouldn't have agreed with that, and I'll explain to you why. Near the end of The Origin of Species, chapter 6, what he does is he has a chapter called Problems with My Theory. And he says there's a whole host of problems with my theory. Some of them are more apparent than real, but some of them are real, but I don't think they're fatal to my theory. So when he was alive, he recognized there are anomalies to my theory. And those anomalies, for example, are things like Cambrian explosion, right? Gradualism. Now, today in 2017, you're making the claim that everything within biology fits the Darwinian paradigm. Even secular mainstream evolutionary biologists who believe in Darwinism do not agree with that statement.
It's evolution by natural selection. There's no anomaly to it.
There's no anomaly to it? Are you telling me that within secular academia there's no anomalies to a particular scientific theory? If that's true, then Darwinian evolution is no longer science.
Why is that?
Because every single scientific observation, every single scientific theory is based upon a bunch of observations. Those same observations can give rise to alternative theories. This is the philosophy of science. So if you say this particular theory has explained all the data, a philosopher of science like Karl Popper would say to you, well, you've just made Darwinian evolution into a pseudoscience.
Open to contrary evidence.
No, but you just made a claim which explains all the data. Right? If you look, a theory that explains heterosexuality and homosexuality, why some birds fly, why some birds don't fly, why human beings are empathetic, why human beings are selfish. A theory that explains everything explains nothing, because it's not falsifiable.
It is falsifiable. It absolutely.
No, but you just said it explains all the data. So if it explains all the data, and that is the best, that is a belief that you actually have about it before I actually go into the anomalies, then you render a scientific theory out of the realm of science. You actually make it into a pseudoscience. Look, you've heard of Freudian psychoanalysis, right?
Yes.
No,
wait,
I don't
wait,
hold the
no.
Quran and say something
A working theory is the whole basis of science. It's the most truth you can accomplish. It's the most but it's still open to contrary evidence.
Okay, so let me just explain a little concept to you. Have you heard of the penis envy theory?
No.
Okay. Freud, Sigmund Freud, he had a theory that women are jealous because they don't have a penis, right?
Okay,
The penis envy theory, right? Now, what Freud actually did is anytime he met a woman who had problems with her husband, she's having a lot of arguments with her husband, he explained the reason why you really have an argument with your husband is because you are jealous that you don't have a penis.
Yes.
Okay? Now, anytime he met a woman that said, I am obsessed with my husband, I worship my husband, I love my husband, he said, you only love him because you want you to have his penis, right?
She has a penis. If you
No,
know.
this is the penis envy theory.
Right.
Now, Karl Popper, a philosopher of science, what he actually did is he looked at this Freudian theory, the penis envy theory in psychology, and he looked at Einstein's general relativity, and he said, this is pseudoscience and this is science. And why? Because the penis envy theory, no data can contradict it. But the general relativity, if, you know, in the experiment when they're waiting for an eclipse, if that experiment went wrong, Einstein's theory would be falsified. This same guy, Karl Popper, who was an atheist, he said Darwinian evolution is a pseudoscience because it's not falsifiable.
Okay.
So for example, I'll tell you something. You just said, you spoke about empathy, right?
Yeah.
How would empathy make sense within a Darwinian worldview if we're all out there to survive and reproduce?
I have to look at either human behavioral ecology or evolutionary psychology.
No, why are we good to each other?
To help propagate our genes.
Exactly. So we're good to each other to help propagate our genes. Yeah. This is a classical Darwinian worldview. Like J.B.S. Haldane said, I will give up my life for 2 brothers and 8 cousins, something like this. We're all there to propagate our genes. Now, is it not true that human beings help people that they're not related to?
Yes.
How does that make sense within a Darwinian worldview?
Well, in a number of ways. There's network theory.
Kin selection.
Direct reciprocity. Well, kin selection is the biological...
Reciprocal altruism.
Yes, reciprocal altruism.
Right.
Circular altruism.
What you just did right now
Yeah.
is I made a little nice hole and you just walked into it.
Yeah, okay. Go on then.
Because I asked you, what would a Darwinian explanation be of empathy, right? Because Darwinism is about survival and reproduction.
Right.
Now there's a contradiction which I pointed out to you, which you explained in terms of Darwinism. So what you actually did is exactly what Freudian psychoanalysis actually do, which is take a contradictory piece of data and re-explain it using their own theory.
Okay.
So what would non-selfish behavior look like?
Non-selfish behavior.
Non-Darwinian behavior, what would it look like?
Something that's out of the psychopathy.
They exist.
I know it exists, but you could call
So
it...
I said, what does non-Darwinian behavior look like?
Well, yeah, it's a maladaptive, which is still...
There you go. That's still a Darwinian behavior.
Yeah.
What does non-Darwinian behavior look like? That's not selfless behavior look like?
I couldn't say.
Conceptually, it doesn't exist.
Right.
Why? Because Darwinian evolution and Darwinian academics have managed to explain everything, selfish behavior, sympathetic behavior, in terms of Darwinian evolution. So what they've done, actually, according to atheist philosophers of science, like David Stove, in his book Darwinian Fairy Tales, is explain a contradiction as a confirmation, and they can explain results which exist and which don't exist. So there's no way, conceptually, you can show that they're wrong.
Right.
So they're true by definition. Darwinian evolution is just true by definition, therefore it's pseudoscience.
I don't think so.
Well, you just did it.
Right.
I just laid out a little nice hole,
Yeah.
and I asked you to walk and you walked into it. Which is, I gave you an empathetic piece of data,
Right,
and you explained it using Darwinism. Although empathetic behavior is an anomaly to Darwinian evolution.
But it's not like one rule which dictates everything. It's a model where all pieces are working together.
No, but you just applied that one rule, which is natural selection, working on your mutations, random mutations.
It's a working theory. That's what it is.
It's an all-encompassing theory.
Yes.
Because I can say, and do you know that within the, if you actually go back in the fossil record, there is a species X. I just brought out this box, species X. How did it come around?
I don't know.
Okay, that's good, because you don't believe in Darwinian evolution anymore.
Wait, are you talking about the first organism or something?
I'm
All
just-
right, what's your species X?
I'm
What
just
is it?
bringing you a box.
Right.
I'm telling you, where did this come from? I'm asking you, where did it come from?
I don't know what you're talking
Okay,
about.
then Darwinian evolution's false.
Well, because I don't understand your this analogy you're trying to make.
because 99.999% of species are actually missing. We don't have their DNA, we don't have their bones, we don't have any pictures of them, cave pictures of them. 99.999% of species are missing according to the National Science Foundation. So if what you just said is correct, that I bought you a piece of data and you said, I don't know, Therefore, Darwinian evolution cannot explain 99.999% of the data.
Why? Because it's not there.
Yeah.
Of course it can't explain data that isn't there.
Yeah. So you said you believe in Darwinian evolution,
Yes.
right? And now I just showed you why the whole of it is actually based upon data which is 0.0001%.
Right. So you're working off the premise.
How can you believe in something which is based upon 0.0001% of the data?
That's how you look at it. You could say that it's based on all of the data. Weren't we arguing that point just a moment ago? That it encompassed all of the data?
No, we were arguing that from a Darwinian point of view, what Darwinists have actually done is they've managed to frame the theory in a way that they can explain anything which exists or doesn't exist, even, like I pointed out, homosexuality and heterosexuality, even though both of them are polar opposites.
Right.
And a theory that has been framed in such a way that they can come up with hypothetical scenarios for anything and ad hoc rationalizations, that theory, it should be questioned about whether it is even science. Because look, I'll say this, look, you've seen documentaries about how we supposedly evolved, right? What they say about our evolution is that we grew big brains because we started to eat protein and we started to harness fire, correct? How on earth will you falsify a hypothesis like that?
You pose another one. No one's that
Okay,
theory
so-
is one theory.
So pose another hypothesis. How will you test that?
You could find the food that was available in that time.
So
you might be able to,
that time. Okay. When was that time that human beings and chimpanzees split up? When was
say
that
about
time?
6 million years ago.
Sorry?
6 million years ago.
6 to 7 million years ago. Where did that?
6 million.
6 million. Okay. Where did you get that figure from?
I was taught it.
You were taught it. Okay. Do you know one of the figures is 20 million, one of the figures is 6 million?
Well, either one of them is wrong, lying, or from a different time.
Okay. What's the 20 based on? What's the 6 based on?
Where I'd have to see it. I mean, I'd have to peer review it. I don't know.
Okay. Both of these are different interpretations of the same data.
Okay.
The way that science works, it's like a scatter graph, right? You've got a graph here. You've got a bunch of dots. You can make a straight line, a bell curve, a sine curve, a tan curve, an exponential curve. The same pieces of data can give rise to different alternatives. That's the way that science works.
Well, they can be interpreted differently, yeah.
Of course it can, because that's the way that science actually works. The problem with Darwinian evolution, the way it's actually taught, is it's taught like a religion. It's taught like it's something true. And that is the thing which I'm actually challenging, because we live in a secular society and we need secular ideals to make sense of reality. So like I'm a Muslim, we have the story, the creation story, that the universe was created by God. Likewise, the atheists need a creation Genesis story, and Darwinian evolution is their Genesis story. So if you came to a Muslim country and I taught you the Quranic origin of the universe, you would want to challenge that. If that's true, then you being in this secular society, you should also challenge the material Genesis story of atheism.
I think it is challenged.
Well, if it is challenged, then give me any evidence in any school in this country or university where you can openly teach alternatives to Darwinian evolution and where you can openly criticize Darwinian evolution. Find me, like any child here before the age of 16, get me a GCSE book which gives me that, and if you give me that, I'm going to say I'm wrong and I'm going to walk away.
Why is that important?
That is important because that is exactly what we're talking about, indoctrination.
Right.
Where people are taught an atheist material Genesis story without being explained, firstly, what it exactly is, and two, the alternatives to it.
Well, evolution exists in a science classroom. It's the same kind of
Not
science.
evolution, we're talking about Darwinian evolution. There's a difference between the two.
Fine, but it's taught in a science classroom. It's the same kind of science. It works off of the same philosophy. It's taught right next to physics and chemistry. So it's to omit it from the.
I don't want to admit it. I want people to teach it.
All right, but
all I want
it's
is
taught
I want
in a
it. I want
science
it to be
classroom.
taught.
So to teach something that isn't science in a science classroom.
I'm not saying that. I'm not
you
saying not
said
teach science.
you wanted me to find a classroom where it teaches an alternative to Darwinian evolution.
Yeah.
Right, but that wouldn't be science then.
Do you know what you just did there? You just showed it is pseudoscience. Because you said anything that's not Darwinian evolution is not science.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm talking about.
Because science, it's.
Because I'll tell you something. I'm gonna name you 5 atheist evolutionary biologists who are atheists. They don't believe in God, and they're evolutionary biologists. And every single one of them has come up with a different alternative to Darwinian evolution. This is not God. This is not religion. Okay, we have evolution by natural genetic engineering by James Shapiro, who is an atheist. We have evolution by mutationism by Masatoshi Nai, another atheist. We have evolution by Neo-Lamarckian evolution, another secular theory. Evolution, symbiotic evolution by the acquirance of genomes. That's Lynn Margulis, another atheist evolutionary biologist. Stuart Kaufman, evolution by self-organization. 5 evolutionary alternatives by atheist evolutionary biologists. You'll never find them in textbooks.
Okay, fine. You can. They'll be welcome in a science classroom as long
They
as
won't
they're
be
based off
welcome
of the
if what you said
scientific
is
method.
true.
But if you present an origin story that's not based on the scientific method, then it's not going to be welcome in a science classroom.
I agree with you totally. But these 5, these are not based upon religion.
They're welcome.
But you just said anything that's
I'm-
non-Darwinian is not science.
Well, that's because I'm talking to a Muslim and I thought I was arguing that point.
No, but what you need to understand is this. When it comes to your worldview, look, me and you are going to die one day.
Pardon?
Correct? Me and you are going to die one day.
Oh,
Right? Either God exists
I
or...
need to go and eat.
That's absolutely fine. And that's survival of the fittest.
Let's speak to you.
Okay, it's very good to speak.
Friend, listen, it's very nice talking to you. Do you accept the things that we've been saying to you? Yeah?
Yes?
Do you understand how flawed the scientific method is? Darwinian evolution?
Absolutely not.
Do you accept that?
No, not at all.
You don't accept that?
No.